is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Saturday, November 4, 2023, and you're watching Weekend World. I'm Mike Dennis Oliveira.
And I'm Fatim Nozil. We're here to give you a news wrap about what transpired across the globe this week.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited the Philippines and recently delivered a speech during a historic special session in the Congress.
The Israel-Palestine conflict has thousands of people on both sides. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's leader is threatening to declare war against Israel if the Jewish state refuses to agree to a ceasefire.
A deadly earthquake in Nepal left more than 120 people killed and devastated thousands of homes.
Russian President Vladimir Putin mocked sanctions imposed by the European Union and took a jab at the bedbug problem in European cities.
And Cambodia has a new billion-dollar airport under the Belt and Road Initiative of China. This and more for tonight's edition of Weekend World.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's visit to the Philippine House of Representatives strengthens the friendship between the two nations. MJ Mondihar provides more details.
On a supposed rest day, the Philippine Congress convened on Saturday, November 4th, to welcome a very special ally. House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Senate President Mig Zubiri led the respective chambers in a special joint session to welcome Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. In his speech, the Prime Minister reassured Japan's commitment to support the Philippines in key endeavors. Regarding progress and infrastructure projects, Prime Minister Kishida noted that recent years have witnessed strengthened ties between Japan and the Philippines across various sectors. Collaboration in security, defense, economy, and investment, including the groundbreaking Manila subway project, underscores the depth of this partnership. On cooperation in global issues, the Japanese official highlighted the deepening coordination between Japan and the Philippines on nuclear disarmament and climate change. Strengthening trilateral cooperation with the U.S. to protect the freedom of the seas in the South China Sea is also a shared priority.
I will continue to do my utmost to ensure that the strong friendship between Japan and the Philippines will last and further develop in the future.
Both House leaders thanked Kishida for visiting Philippine Congress. After his speech, Kishida then visited the Metro Manila subway project, a venture supported by Japan. The Department of Transportation announced on Friday that it was on track to complete railway projects funded by the government of Japan. In addition to the Metro Manila subway, 9 significant Philippine transport projects, including 2 aviation, 2 maritime, and 5 railways are being constructed or will be delivered with the support of the 1.315 trillion pesos in Japanese financial banking. Kishida is in the Philippines for a 2-day state visit. Among his first engagements was a meeting with President Bongbong Marcos in Malacanang.
Once our colonizers, now our allies and partners. Today's events marks the continuous forward of the Philippine-Japan friendship with learned lessons from the past towards a shared future. For Edmund Bloom Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited the Metro Manila subway project depot and its train simulator room located in Valenzuela City on Saturday afternoon. Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista and together with other government officials toured Prime Minister Kishida at the Metro Manila subway project. The subway project, which is partly funded through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, will have 17 stations from Valenzuela City to Ninoy Aquino International Airport, Terminal 3. Dubbed as the project of the century, the 33-kilometer long-way subway project is expected to reduce travel time end-to-end from 1 hour and 30 minutes to 35 minutes.
The visit of Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to the Philippines intends to further deepen strategic cooperation with the Philippines in the future. He also expressed his intention to support the Philippines' maritime security challenges in the region. Let's find out more from Paul Montibon.
personal exchange and capability development. These are just a few of the topics that were discussed when Japan Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited the Philippine Coast Guard. The said visit was in line with the current maritime security situation in the region.
The Philippine Coast Guard warmly welcomed representatives of the Japan delegation, its Prime Minister himself, His Excellency Fumio Kishida, and Japan Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Shuhei Ishii at the Philippine Coast Guard National Headquarters, Port Area, Manila, Saturday, November 4, 2023. In a meeting, the said foreign delegation intends to support the PCG by providing capacity-building programs and more enhanced capabilities, specifically on maritime law enforcement and marine environmental protection. It can be remembered that the Japanese government has promised to grant primary systems such as coastal surveillance radar, a newly launched Japanese security assistance program for allied militaries in the region. Aside from this, it has been notable that the Philippine Coast Guard has already acquired a huge number of ships from Japan, which is significant in our pursuit of maritime rights, especially in the West Philippine Sea.
Ang Japanese government sa pamamagitan ng JICA at ng Japan Coast Guard ang siyang nagbibigay sa Philippine Coast Guard ng oportunidad upang mapaaral sa higher level ng edukasyon ng aming mga opisyal, pati na sa technical level na pag-aaral. Sa katunayan, nung nahiwalay ang Philippine Coast Guard sa Department of Defense noong 1998, ang Japan, sa pamamagitan ng Japan Coast Guard at JICA, ang pinakaunang lumapit sa atin at nagbigay tulong upang mapaunlad natin ang human resource ng Philippine Coast Guard. Kami rin ay nagpapasalamat. Ang Japan ang nagbigay sa atin ng mga barkong ginagamit natin sa ngayon at ang patuloy na pag-train ng ating mga tauhan.
PCG currently has 13 Japanese-made ships, including 10 multi-role response vessels, 2 offshore patrol vessels, and buoy tender vessel. Notably, the 97-meter MRRV BRP Teresa Magbanwa, the biggest PCG vessel to date, was also made by a Japanese firm. And additional Japanese patrol vessels, defense equipment, and radars would be provided to strengthen the Philippines' law enforcement capability at sea.
Ang ating karagatan ay konektado. May mga barko silang dumadaan sa atin na kailangan nating mag-conduct ng search and rescue, kailangan nating mag-conduct ng mga law enforcement activities, ng marine pollution response capabilities. Sa katunayan, noong nagkaroon tayo ng oil spill sa Mindoro, ang Japan Coast Guard, ang JICA, ang Japanese government ang pinakaunang nagresponde, nagbigay ng tulong sa atin.
Aside from defense and security, the Philippines and Japan have discussed political, trade and investment, development and people-to-people ties as President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. welcomed Prime Minister Kishida at the Malacanang Palace on Friday, November 3.
The Philippines expresses its gratitude to Japan for supplying patrol ship. These vessels play a significant role in our defense, especially safeguarding our maritime rights in the disputed West Philippine Sea. For God and the country, the Philippines, reporting Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, the third phase of the Fukushima treated wastewater discharge plant has started this week. However, Japanese residents expressed their doubts over the management's ability regarding its release. Shen Matsui reports.
Japanese residents expressed their doubts at the management ability of Japan and Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, as they started the third phase of the discharge on Thursday. In the third phase, some 7,800 tons of polluted water will be discharged into the Pacific Ocean from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, the same amount as water discharged in the previous 2 rounds between August and October, according to TEPCO, the plant's operator. The third phase is expected to last to around November 20. The fourth round will start in early 2024. Hideo Soga, Professor Emeritus from Ibaraki University, expressed his opinion regarding the matter.
潜水は私はああいう処理じゃなくて方法あると。高くても費用がかかってもそっちの方でやるべきだと。それからもう一ついろんな水が入り込んできてるんですよ。それで増えてる。でそれのもっと根本的な水の入り込みを止 止めるような工事をもっとちゃんとやるべきだと。
Japanese officials said the water is no longer harmful and decided to discharge it into the ocean despite concerns and opposition among local fishermen in Fukushima Prefecture as well as other countries.
処理水の問題はね、あれは本当はあれはもう汚染水ですよ、基本的には。そこは間違いないんだけど、技術的とかね、科学的とかそういう言葉で。
Another resident said there are other ways to handle the nuclear contaminated water properly.
タンクを敷地外に増設して保管すれば少なくともトリチウムはかなり総量が減ります。だからそういうことを考えればなんで放流するのかっていうのは一つの安易な選択だと思いますね。トリチウム以外の放射能もゼロじゃないですし。
以上、日本から松井俊報告いたしました。SMNI News Japan.
The armed forces of the Philippines clarified rumors of a destabilization plot against the Marcos administration following reports that members of retired military officials are planning to pin down the current government. Paul Montibon reports.
In an interview with Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner Jr. on Saturday, he clarified that there is no destabilization plot against President Ferdinand Marcos' administration. But Browner also said that there are certain individuals who are reportedly attempting to upset the peace and stability of the Marcos administration.
It was taken out of context, no? Yung sinabi ko, I did not mention about destabilization plot, no? Kasi pag sinabi nating plot, parang plano na ito na i-execute na lang, no? So, ang sinabi ko during my statement was that may mga naririnig tayo na mga ugong-ugong ng mga destabilization efforts, no? Yun yung specific word na ginamit ko. So I did not use the word plot.
Bronner said that he was misquoted during his remarks at the change of command ceremony of the Western Mindanao Command on Friday, and that he was only reminding his men to remain professional and loyal to their oath to protect the people and the state. He also urged the active personnel of the AFP not to join the movement led by retired officials, as there have been efforts to recruit from among their ranks to oust the president.
I was reminding them na dapat bilang mga sundalo, we should take our oath, yung oath na kinuha namin, no, seriously, that we would protect the Constitution and the duly constituted authorities, at hindi dapat kami sumasali sa kahit na anumang mga movements, no, na meron dyan. Malaki po ang respeto ko sa mga retired na mga officers. At hindi ko naman linalahat, no? At may mga pangilan-ngilan lang kasi na yun nga may mga panawagan sila for people to join movements, no? So yun lang po yung context nung sinabi ko kahapon, was that I was reminding our soldiers to remain loyal to the Constitution and to uphold our responsibility to protect the people and our state.
For God and My Country, the Philippines, reporting Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Dozens of people died overnight after a strong earthquake hit the largest province in Nepal. Dylan Libuete reports.
More than 100 people died after a magnitude 5.6 earthquake struck Jajarkot district in the Nepalese province of Karnali on Friday night. Officials on Saturday said that 128 people died. Authorities fear that the death toll could still rise. The quake occurred on Friday evening with a magnitude 6.4, but was later downgraded at 5.6 by the U.S. Geological Survey. The tremors were so strong that houses collapsed as far as New Delhi, India. Nepali Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal expressed sorrow for the lives and properties lost in the quake and ordered immediate rescue and relief operations. The quake is the deadliest to hit Nepal since 2015, when about 9,000 people were killed in 2 earthquakes in the Himalayan country. Reporting from New South Wales, this has been Gillian Libwood, SMNI News, Australia.
An international airport worth $1.1 billion to construct under China's Belt and Road Initiative has officially opened in Cambodia. Chat Mongkol Pisumay Goson reports.
The Siem Reap Angkor International Airport has officially opened in northwest Cambodia's tourist hub, raising hopes for the revitalization of the country's popular tourism industry. The new facility is expected to greatly increase the area's capacity for international flights. It is located nearly an hour from Angkor Wat, a World Heritage Site, and is considered the largest religious structure in the world. The 3,600-meter runway can accommodate long-distance flights from across the globe. The facility will contribute to the long-term development of Cambodia's tourism, trade, and economy. Authorities predict local people in the Cambodian province of Siem Reap to gain maximum benefits from the said project. The airport will handle 7 million air passengers every year from 2024 and up to 12 million passengers annually from 2040. รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคล มิสมัยโกศล SMNI News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
SMNI Foundation Incorporated, in collaboration with the Chinese Embassy, continues its mission of implementing various projects across the Philippines. One of their latest initiatives is the construction of a basketball court in different areas of the country. We'll take a closer look at the recently held inauguration in Dagami Leyte with Hannah Jing Sancho.
It's undeniable that Filipinos have a strong passion for playing basketball. Regarding of age, basketball is a sport that they hold dear to their hearts. In Dagami, a third-class municipality in the province of Leyte, is the newest location chosen by SMNI Foundation Incorporated in partnership with the People's Republic of China Embassy in the Philippines to establish a basketball court. The inauguration took place on Wednesday morning, the first day of November, attended by key figures including Engineer Edwin Labanda from the Leyte Provincial General Services Office, who represented Governor Jericho Petilla, Dagami Municipal Administrator Antonio Del Pilar, and Barangay Cabariwan Chairman Leonardo Padriquez. Chinese Embassy Councilor Jilin Peng and Admar Velando, an anchor and volunteer with SMNI Foundation Incorporated, also witnessed the event.
Sports have a unique way of bringing people together. They unite us through the joy of competition and the spirit of teamwork. As we all know, basketball is the favorite sport in the Philippines. We are very happy to see that the Philippines successfully held the Basketball World Cup earlier this year. And a few weeks ago, during the 19th Asian Games, which was held in Hangzhou City of China, the Philippines men's basketball team won another time a gold medal again after 61 years. So it's awesome work for the Filipino basketball. So congratulations. As we gather here today, it's our hope that this newly constructed basketball court will become a focal point for the communities, where friendships are formed, dreams are nurtured, and where the future basketball stars of the Philippines will find their first footing.
On behalf of our pinakamamahal na Governor Jericho Ikot Petilla, ang aming taus-pusong pasasalamat kasi po nagkaroon po ng project na para ito sa mga future generation, para ito sa mga bata at para magkaroon sila ng libangan, hindi sila mapunta sa mga gawaing hindi maganda, hindi sila mapunta sa mga ano-anong mga bisyo katulad ng druga o ano-ano pa. So nagpapasalamat ang ating mahal na gobernador Carlos Jericho Ikot Pitilla sa SMNI at saka sa Chinese Embassy.
Malaking talaga kung mag-allocate ang isang bayan or sa probinsya ng ganitong klaseng program o projects. Talagang this is part ng SMNI na binigyan ng opportunity yung mga kababayan natin na makapag-ensayo, lalong-lalo na sa basketball because yung mga bata dito mahilig talaga sa basketball. Not only here in our locality, but even sa ibang lugar. So ito, malaking opportunity para sa amin na malaking tulong rin. Hindi lang sa SMNI, lahat ng mga constituents ng Kagami. So malaking tulong at the same time, yung mga bata, hindi na sila maliligaw kung isipin natin. Sa panahon ngayon, maraming nagkakabisyo na pupunta sa hindi magandang kalagayan. So as sportsmanship, nandyan, malaking tulong para sa amin.
Sa pangunguna ng ating butihing Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy ng SMNI, ng SMNI Foundation, magpapatuloy ang pagbibigay ng serbisyo sa ating mga kababayan. Bahagi lang ito sa napakarami pa ng mga plano ng ating butihing pastor katuwang SMNI Foundation na gagawin para sa ating mga kababayan, mga basketball courts at yung panata ng ating butihing pastor na agad magbigay ng tulong sa panahon ng pangangailangan, kalamidad, natural calamities man yan, kung ano pa, nakahanda ang SMNI and SMNI Foundation para umagapay sa ating mga kababayan. Marami pa tayong gagawin ng mga proyekto. Yan po yung pangako natin buting Pastor Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao po at maging sa buong mundo.
SMNI Foundation had previously built a basketball court in Barangay Tamayong, Calinan, Davao City in collaboration with the Chinese Embassy. It is expected that this initiative will continue to benefit many more locations across the country.
For God in my beloved Philippines, this is Queen Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News, Dagami, Leyte.
The Tunisian town of Deir al-Hajjaj is emptying out as more of its young people make the dangerous journey across the Mediterranean to try and reach European shores. The coastal town's population has halved from 5,500 to less than 2,500 in less than 2 years. CGTN correspondent Adnan Chawachi reports from Tunis.
Is Deir al-Hajjaj. This is what people here are saying about their town. As the population continues to decline, many shops and businesses have shut down indefinitely.
Irregular migration is not a taboo in this town, where jobs are not available. It is sad, but this is a dream of all young people who want to work and earn a decent living abroad.
Muhammad Aziz and his friend Muhammad Kushtan are working in the private sector near Deir al-Hajjaj town. Just like most of Tunisian youth there, the two friends revealed that they have always been thinking of crossing the Mediterranean.
Everyone is thinking of illegal migration. The town has been emptied of its youths. If we were allowed to leave, no one would stay. We are just a few left in this ghost town. Even parents are providing money and encouraging their sons to cross the sea, but I'm against this risky journey.
All my neighbors have crossed the sea to Europe and I'm planning to do so. Some of my friends have tried and failed 3 times, but they will continue until they reach the other side of the Mediterranean. We have no reason to stay in Tunisia.
Civil society organizations say dozens of fatalities from Deir al-Hajjaj town are recorded annually on the migratory route to Italy.
We often hear about successful irregular migration attempts, but so many people are dying or missing in failed crossings. All families are affected by this tragedy.
Local authorities say the economic and the social conditions in Tunisia are pushing unemployed youths to leave the country.
Irregular migration is the result of the unequal distribution of wealth and the lack of regional development. Everyone, especially youths, are suffering from this situation.
The Italian island of Pantelleria is about 28 miles away from the town of Deir al-Hajjaj. People here continue to dream of crossing the sea despite the risks. In 2022, about 15,500 Tunisians reached the Italian coast, according to the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights. At least 36,000 irregular migrants have tried to cross the Mediterranean from Tunisia in the first 9 months of this year. Abdel Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
It's time to check the latest development and updates in Europe, North, South, and Central America with Federico Veloso. Good evening, Fred.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Fatima. Here's the latest happening in Europe, North, and South America. And first, in our news, moving on to Brazil, where the government has taken decisive action to combat organized crime and rising violence. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva announced a groundbreaking operation this week. The details with Natalia Prado, live. Natalia?
Yes, Fred, acknowledging the escalating violence in states like Rio de Janeiro, President Lula da Silva unveiled a comprehensive plan to tackle organized crimes and militias head-on, and this is by temporarily militarizing domestic ports and airports. This operation will involve multiple government agencies, including the Ministry of Justice and Public Security, the Ministry of Defense, the Armed Forces, and the Federal Police. The objective is to curb the activities of organized crime, including drug trafficking and militias. Key measures include expanding and strengthening operations at the major ports, borders, and airports in São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. This move aims to clamp down on illegal activities that have plagued these Brazilian regions. The region of Rio de Janeiro, long considered logistics hub for drug dealing and weapon trafficking in Brazil, has witnessed a surge in violence. Local gangs and dealers, often referred as militias, have gained power, leading to increase in criminal activities. Meanwhile, the Brazilian government is bolstering law enforcement with additional personnel and equipment to ensure the safety and security of these areas. An integrated committee for financial investigation and asset recovery has been established to weaken the financial power of these criminal organizations. Extra manpower will be deployed to maintain order on highways in Rio de Janeiro, a significant step to enhance safety and security for citizens. Also, a special action group to combat organized crime, known as GAECO, is now operating to prevent and repress activities of criminal organizations throughout the country. These temporary measures were put in place following a series of high-profile killings and violent incidents, including the recent torching of at least 35 buses in Rio de Janeiro, in retaliation for the police's actions against a gang leader's relative. Since the launch of this operation, Brazilian law enforcement, in collaboration with GAECO, arrested 28 individuals and conducted search and seizure warrants on Wednesday, marking a significant development in the fight against organized crime. Yes, Fred. The operation is expected to take effect until May 2024, and it could possibly be extended. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you. That's Natalia Prado live on SMNI Studios. Meanwhile, in a tragic turn of events, the severe weather in South American countries resulted in the death of 3 people and widespread destruction. Val de Vinagracia will give us a rundown.
Various Latin American countries experienced severe devastation this week. Officials pointed to the El Niño weather phenomenon, and it has struck Paraguay particularly hard. All 3 fatalities, including an 11-year-old girl and 2 elderly individuals aged 70 and 84, resulted from the collapse of homes in 2 towns in Paraguay, a country that has been battered by relentless downpours accompanied by tornadoes and rainstorms. Some 30,000 people in Paraguay have been affected by these devastating storms, with more than 600 families evacuated in Ayolas along the banks of the Parana River. The latest El Niño occurrence follows a particularly harsh spell of La Nina, which caused the opposite weather effects and led to a historic drought in the south of the South American continent earlier this year, resulting in crop failures and drinking water shortages. In Brazil, heavy rains led to flooding and landslides in the southern states of Paraná and Santa Catarina this week, although thankfully, there were no fatalities. Argentina's Naval Hydrography Service has also issued warnings about high water levels in the River Plate, which it shares with Uruguay. The world-famous Iguazu Falls, located at Iguazu National Park on the border between Brazil and Argentina, remained closed on Wednesday due to the heavy flooding of the Iguazu River. Reports say more than 60-foot bridges, including those leading to the famous Devil's Throat waterfall, have been destroyed by the overflowing waters. Meanwhile, in Uruguay, nearly 3,000 people have been forced to leave their homes due to flooding in the country's north. Reporting, this has been Valdivina Gracia, SMNI News.
In the United States, former U.S. Department official Frederick Klein, a Marine Corps veteran, was sentenced to nearly 6 years in prison for his role in January 6, 2021 Capitol Hill riot. Klein faced charges of assaulting police officers, inciting rioters, and obstructing the Capitol's entrance. He was found guilty of 8 felonies, including 6 assaults, civil disorder, and obstruction of an official proceeding, as well as 4 misdemeanors following a bench trial. At his sentencing, U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden ordered Klein to serve 5 years and 10 months in prison and pay a $3,000 fine and provide $2,000 in restitution. Klein, who did not testify during his trial, was noted for his shocking and egregious actions on January 6th. Prosecutors suggested that his participation in the riot was motivated by a desire to maintain his job as presidential appointee. But Klein's attorney argued that his client's role should be evaluated based on his actual actions and not be associated with others involved in the riot. The president of Chile slammed Israel during a speech he delivered in Washington, D.C. this week. This comes amid the growing calls for South American countries for Israel to stop its strikes on Gaza. Andrea Santos has the rest of the details.
Gabriel Boric, the president of Chile, stated that the right of the state to defend itself has limits and the human rights must be respected regardless of which government violates them. Boric made the remarks during a speech in Washington, D.C., USA on Thursday. Boric added that he has expressed to U.S. President Joe Biden his concerns about the situation in Gaza and that, quote, "We can say without a doubt that the response has been disproportionate, that international humanitarian law is being violated, and what is happening in the Gaza Strip is simply unacceptable," end of quote. To recall, the United Nations General Assembly on Friday supported a resolution for a humanitarian pause. 120 members voted in favor of the said resolution, including Chile. Meanwhile, 14 voted against the resolution, including the United States. The Chilean president added that his country shares values with Colombia, which also backed the said resolution. To recall, Chile and Colombia recalled their ambassadors to Israel, while Bolivia ended its diplomatic ties with the Jewish state. Israel, in return, criticized the 3 Latin American countries and has called on Colombia and Chile to explicitly condemn Hamas. Israel has also engaged with a diplomatic spat with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who called for a ceasefire. Brazil has called on Israel to end its bombing of Gaza, while Argentina has criticized Israel's attack in the Jabalia refugee camp. Meanwhile, Israel's foreign ministry said 21 Argentine citizens are still missing and presumed to be held hostage by Hamas, while 9 Argentines have been killed in the conflict. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
Moving on, Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of Russia, said that Poland is a dangerous enemy, stoking tensions and raising concerns about Poland's statehood. In a recent statement, Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's deputy chairman of the Security Council and a close ally of President Putin, declared that Russia now considers Poland, a NATO member, a dangerous enemy. He suggested that if reconciliation appears unlikely, Russia will adopt a tough stance, risking Poland's statehood. Poland reacted swiftly, with a Polish official, Stanislaw Żorin, criticizing Medvedev's remarks as Kremlin propaganda filled with hostility and threats. Żorin also accused Russian leaders of stoking hatred towards Poland for many years, and that Medvedev's article was full of hatred and threats against Poland and NATO. Elon Musk talks about AI's future, global safety, and international meetings at the AI Safety Summit. Anmar Vilando reports.
Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, discussed the transformative potential of artificial intelligence or AI during the UK's inaugural AI Safety Summit. He also sat down with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and dived into the dangers as well as opportunities of AI. While expressing hope for its positive impact, Musk cautioned about the risk associated with what AI, calling it as one of the most disruptive forces in history. Musk envisions a future where AI could make jobs unnecessary, with AI companionship becoming integral to human life. He commended global efforts to address AI safety issues.
It's hard to say exactly what that moment is, but there will come a point where no job is needed. You can have a job if you want to have a job for sort of personal satisfaction, but the AI will be able to do everything.
But Prime Minister Sunak expressed his discomfort regarding this idea.
Right? I'm someone who believes, work gives you meaning. Right? I talk a lot about that as a leader. I think work is a good thing. It, gives people purpose in their lives. And
the UK Prime Minister also asked Musk what government should be doing to manage and mitigate the risk of AI, and to this, Musk said,
"There's a few that I disagree with from time to time, but 0.1% probably, less than 1% of regulations I disagree with."
Musk has been pushing for the importance of global alignment on AI safety. The European Union and 28 countries, including the Philippines, signed the Bletchley Declaration at the AI Safety Summit, which took place from November 1 and 2. The Bletchley Declaration acknowledges the need for an international cooperation towards accountability and transparency in AI development and mitigating risk posed by AI. The said countries all agreed to work together to create a united approach to oversight in efforts to deploy AI technology in what they call as human-centric, trustworthy, and responsible way. Meanwhile, Musk's growing international influence, evident in meetings with leaders like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and French President Emmanuel Macron, contrasts with controversy over providing Starlink in conflict zones. Future AI safety summits are planned in Korea and France in 2024. Reporting at Marvilando, SMNI News.
In the meantime, Russia's President Vladimir Putin mocked Western sanctions and the bedbug problem of some European cities. And he also said sanctions imposed by the European Union are hurting the bloc more than Russia. The details with Jane Cornita.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is not worried about recent Western sanctions imposed against the country. And recently, he has ridiculed the latest Western sanctions imposed on Russia, calling it absurd during a televised government meeting. The European Union is thinking about more sanctions against Russia, including a ban on things like buttons, nails, and sewing appliances. Putin made fun of this by saying,
доходит до абсурда, вы тоже это знаете, уважаемые коллеги, предлагают запретить ввоз в Россию отверток, иголок и так далее. Но чем меньше барахла, тем, может быть, даже и лучше, меньше шансов, что из крупных европейских мегаполисов к нам будут экспортировать.
Putin was referring to several European cities, including Paris, that are currently battling an infestation of bedbugs in recent months. Meanwhile, Australia also added more items to its export ban against Russia. They included tools used for drilling, pressing, stamping, punching, and even television and sound recording equipment. But Putin doesn't think this will hurt Russia much, saying that it will hurt Western countries more instead. The Russian president also said that all these sanctions seem to be hurting Western economies more than Russia's. He expects more sanctions and wants Russia to be ready for possible sabotage of important facilities. Putin also warned that if they run out of ideas for sanctions, they might do something like destroy the Nord Stream natural gas pipelines. To recall, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko recently claimed that EU member states have lost around $1.5 trillion due to the sanctions it introduced against Moscow, and that he sees no sign of the bloc reversing its policies in the near future. According to the diplomat, the industrial sector of Germany now has to buy natural gas at prices 3 times higher than it costs the United States, stressing that production lines are slowly relocating to North America amid the red flags being raised by German businesses. Reporting, this has been Jane Conita, SMNI News.
Just this week, Ukraine's top general admits to a stalemate with Russia, while the Russian defense minister reports Ukrainian losses in the ongoing conflict. Vigan reports.
Ukraine's military commander General Valery Zaluzhny has conceded that the conflict with Russia has reached a stalemate, with Moscow having the upper hand due to its greater resources. Zaluzhny emphasized the need for technological advancements to change the status quo. Zaluzhny told the Economist that Ukraine will not make any progress against Russia unless some new technology emerges to give it a decisive advantage. He also conceded that without the appearance of a so-called wonder web, that Russia is in the better position as it has a bigger population and has greater resources. Despite hopes of Ukrainian officials, Zaluzhny predicted that there will most likely be no need and beautiful breakthrough, and that the conflict may drag on for years and wear down the economy. However, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov disagreed with Zaluzhny, saying that Russia was not in a stalemate and would keep pursuing its special military operation against Ukraine. Peskov also said that Ukraine should have long acknowledged that expecting a Russian defeat was absurd. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu stated that despite Western weapon supplies, Ukrainian attempts to advance on the front line have resulted in significant losses and declining troop morale. Russian air defense troops were commended for intercepting Ukrainian assets, including planes and missiles. The conflict in the Middle East has strained Ukraine's ability to secure Western assistance. In the U.S., aid to Ukraine has become a contentious issue, with a separate $14.3 billion package proposed for Israel. EU nations are facing pressure due to the conflict's costs and are re-evaluating their support for Ukraine. Slovakia's newly elected Prime Minister Robert Fico has opposed aiding Ukraine due to the concerns about corruption. Reporting for Newsline World, Vigan, SMNI News.
And those are the latest development in Europe, North and South America. Back to you, Mike and Fatima.
More than 10,800 people were killed on both Israel and Palestinian sides as the conflict drags on. The Gaza-based health authority said on Friday that the current round of conflict had killed 9,257 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip since it broke out on October 7. As reported by Palestine news agencies citing data from the Palestinian Health Ministry, the recent clashes with the Israeli army have resulted in the deaths of 144 people in the West Bank. In Israel, more than 1,400 people have lost their lives in the current round of fighting, as reported by the Israeli Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, have continued their airstrikes in the Gaza Strip. IDF spokesman Daniel Hagari said they have surrounded Gaza City by land, sea, and air. A video released by the IDF on the same day showed that the Israeli army had discovered and destroyed several underground tunnels built by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Israeli tanks and armored personnel carriers advance in columns under the cover of the Air Force and with armored bulldozers clearing the way in order to avoid possible ambushes and explosive devices set up by Hamas armed forces along the roads. In response to the ground fighting, Hamas Al-Qassam brigades claimed that they had killed more than 20 Israeli soldiers in the past few days. Hamas launched a raid on an Israeli army squad in the northwest Gaza Strip, killing 4 Israeli soldiers. Although the Israeli army has not yet confirmed it, Hamas armed forces raids through underground tunnels have caused considerable trouble to the Israeli army. At the same time, Hamas continued to fire rockets toward different locations in Israel as air defense sirens were still sounded across a wide range of areas in Israel, especially in the northern and central areas. Ezrat, an Israeli city closest to the country's border with the Gaza Strip, is among the areas most exposed to rocket attacks. In the first week of the current round of conflict, a total of nearly 30,000 local residents have been evacuated by the Israeli government. Israeli army has set up a checkpoint on a trunk road in Ezrat, which directly leads to the Gaza Strip, to impose strict restrictions and inspections on vehicles passing by.
While the leader of the Lebanese resistance movement and militant group Hezbollah was given the ultimatum to the United States to end Israel's war on Gaza by November 3, or else it will be forced to attack the Jewish state. Rosafe Adult reports from Israel.
Leader of the Shia party Hezbollah, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, warned to wage a war with Israel if the United States failed to meet the militant group's ceasefire demand within 24 hours. Sheikh Nasrallah agreed to enforce an ultimatum to the United States after a meeting with Iranian Brigadier General Ismail Qani in Beirut, Lebanon on Tuesday evening. The Hezbollah leader said that failure to meet the demand will force the militant group to launch military operations against Israel from all directions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, refused to declare a ceasefire in Gaza despite the latest warning from Hezbollah. Netanyahu previously warned that once Hezbollah decides to enter the fighting between Israel and Hamas, it could lead to a second Lebanon war. Meanwhile, Israeli government spokesperson Elon Levy responded to the Hezbollah chief's speech and did not hesitate to describe it as boring.
Thank you for your question. We listened to Hassan Nasrallah's long and rambling speech. I admit it was so boring, I don't know whether his speechwriter was killed in recent IDF strikes on Hezbollah up in the north. I would note that despite the large crowds, Mr. Nasrallah himself was not on stage. He was hiding in a bunker like a coward. And if I were giving a long, hour-long speech defending the paedophile rapists of Hamas, I would be afraid to show my face in public as well.
It was the first public speech delivered by the Hezbollah leader since the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Shabbat Shalom Nicola Midafak from Tel Aviv. This has been Rosafi Adot, SMNI News, Israel.
Foreign ministers from Turkey and Iran met earlier this week where they discussed measures on how to prevent the spread of the Israel-Hamas war in the region. Mayfloor Rodrigo reports.
Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan met his Iranian counterpart Hussein Amir Abdullahian in light of the ongoing military escalation in Gaza. Fidan reiterated Turkey's call for an immediate ceasefire in the besieged enclave amid uncertainties that the violence could spread in the region. The Iranian foreign minister, for his part, warned that the armed groups it supports in the region could attack Israel amid the ongoing war with Hamas. Amir Abdullahian also met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara. The meeting came a day after the Iranian foreign minister held talks with Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Qatar for the second time since the war broke out. The conflict in the Middle East is providing common ground for political rivals Turkey and Iran. Ben Mayfloor Rodrigo, SMNI Haber, Istanbul.
Japan's foreign minister has pledged approximately $65 million in additional humanitarian aid for the Gaza Strip. This announcement comes following her visit to the West Bank city of Ramallah. Hector Kikozaki reports.
During her visit, Minister Kamikawa Yoko met with Palestinian Authority Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki for about 50 minutes. This meeting followed talks with her Israeli counterpart Eli Cohen in Tel Aviv. Japan had already pledged $10 million in emergency humanitarian assistance for civilians in Gaza. Minister Kamikawa expressed her close attention to the situation and offered her condolences to the families of those affected by the ongoing violence. She also took a strong stance condemning terrorist attacks by groups like Hamas and others. She expressed solidarity with Israel and offered condolences to the families of the victims. She also called for the immediate release of hostages and a de-escalation of the situation as soon as possible. Kamikawa emphasized that the top priority should be delivering necessary assistance to the people in Gaza. Japan has stated that it will provide relief supplies through the Japan International Cooperation Agency. Foreign Minister Maliki expressed gratitude for Japan's support and highlighted that violence is also on the rise in the West Bank. In her meeting with Minister Maliki, Kamikawa reiterated Japan's continued support for a two-state solution where Israel and a future independent Palestinian state can live side by side with peace, and both ministers confirmed their commitment to work together toward that goal. 以上、菊崎ヘクトル、日本から報告いたしました。SMNI News, Japan.
The escalation in violence in Gaza is dominating global headlines, relegating other issues and conflicts in places like Sudan, Niger, and Mali to the background. However, despite the lack of media attention, those problems are still very much there. The situation has raised questions in Africa as to whether the continent's woes are once again being overlooked. Deji Badimosi of CGTN has more from Lagos, Nigeria.
It's a top story on virtually every global news channel. The Israel-Palestine escalation is completely overshadowing the fighting between Russia and Ukraine. Not to mind the various conflicts and political crises in Africa. For those promoting peace on the continent, the need for international attention and assistance is great.
On the African continent, we've seen a spike in the number of terrorist attacks in Mali, Burkina Faso, and of course in Niger. We seem not to be paying attention to that, coupled with other issues that should have been in the news headlines. So surely what is happening in Gaza is taking away all the attention. But I do hope that we equally attach a great deal of importance to other humanitarian issues in other parts of the world.
Meanwhile, analysts also fear that militants across Africa might try to take advantage of the situation in the Middle East. They say groups such as Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab might use the West's support for Israel to recruit new members and begin new insurgencies.
We might have militants taking advantage of what is happening to stage attacks against Western targets in Africa. We've had a series of demonstrations, not just in Kenya, but in Nigeria and other African countries. The terrorists, especially operating in the Sahel and West Africa region, would use this as an opportunity to recruit people under the pretext that everybody is against Islam, because this plays into the hands of the terrorists.
On the streets of Lagos, many are following the conflict in Gaza and have something to say about it.
Israel should come down on their high horse and let us live in unity as humanity, because the killing of children and innocent civilians is getting out of proportion, getting out of hand.
I think I am indifferent about the whole situation. I'm indifferent, and all I want and all I desire is peace all over the world. We don't have cause to begin to ask for wars all over the world. War between Israel and Hamas could, if care is not taken, generate to world war. So I will appeal to every party, every side, to embrace peace.
Analysts say as long as the conflict rages, it's very unlikely African issues will get much global attention.
You can see that the war in Sudan has gone to the back burner. The Niger crisis, nobody's talking about that any longer. The jihadist attack in Mali, that they have almost overrun the Malian state, nobody's talking about that. So Africa will be the least consideration of the West for now. That calls to question or brings to fore the fact that African problem will only be solved, will only be dispassionately attended to majorly by Africans because it affects them directly.
For now, a peaceful resolution to the Gaza conflict does not seem to be in sight. And with that, a shift in global attention away from the Middle East seems very unlikely. Many here believe Africa will have to devise its own ways to resolve its own conflicts. Deji Badimosi, CGTN, Lagos, Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces is expanding its territorial control in Sudan despite the latest round of peace talks with the Sudanese army held last week in Saudi Arabia earlier this week. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
Assalamu alaikum. The Deputy Commander of Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, Abdel Rahim Hamdan Daglo, want to seize more territories controlled by the Sudanese army as fighting between the two warring parties rages for nearly 7 months now. Abdel Rahim Hamdan Daglo is the brother of Hamdan Daglo, the commander of the Rapid Support Forces and deputy head of Sudan's military government. His announcement came after a series of territorial gains by the forces, especially in the western region of Darfur. On Monday, the parliamentary said they have taken control of the Belila airport and a nearby oil field in West Kordofan state, but the Sudanese announced they had recaptured the said areas on Thursday. After nearly 7 months of fighting, the Rapid Support Forces has withdrawn its attention from the capital Khartoum and has been advancing its operations in the central part of the country. Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi met with Malik Agar, Deputy Chairman of Sudan's Transitional Sovereign Council, in Beijing on Thursday to discuss the long-standing friendship of both countries and wished for the restoration of stability in the Northeast African country. Data released by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data showed that the civil war has killed over 10,400 people and displaced millions more. Barakalafikum Jamian Kanhada Melchizedek Cadiz Akhbar SMNI Kuwait.
Powerful storms, heavy rains, and strong winds have taken 16 lives in Western Europe, with more than 1 million homes left in the dark. Jean Domingo reports.
Winds packing up to 118 miles per hour battered the Atlantic coast of France, uprooting trees and blocking roads. Huge waves also slammed French shorelines and posts. Over 1 million French households also went without power on Thursday. 3,000 electrical workers were needed to restore services. Thousands more people lost power in the UK. In central Tuscany, Italy, at least 6 people lost their lives due to severe flooding caused by the storm. Flooding led to cars being swept away and residents taking refuge on rooftops. Tuscany's governor declared a state of emergency for the hardest hit areas, while Florence witnessed evacuations and additional fatalities. Other European cities were also affected. Off the coast of Portugal, a sailboat capsized, resulting in 3 fatalities. Falling trees led to deaths in Belgium, France, Spain, and the Netherlands. Sharon will continue to batter Western Europe through the end of this week, with the heaviest rainfall expected across the northwestern part of Spain, southwestern and northern coast of France, and parts of northern Italy. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
The premier automobile racing series Formula One dismissed speculations that the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix could end cancelled in the wake of the ongoing tensions in the Middle East. Renil Reyes reports.
Organizers assured that the much-awaited Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will take place in the UAE capital later this month, amid rumors that the prestigious motor racing event could get cancelled due to the escalating conflict between Israel and Hamas. A spokesperson for Formula One confirmed that the international motorsport will take place over 58 laps of the 5.281-kilometer Yas Marina circuit on Yas Island on Sunday, November 26. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas and the possibility of tensions spreading in the Middle East led to speculations that the season finale in the UAE could get cancelled. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is traditionally the closing event of the F1 season, which attracts more than 60,000 racing enthusiasts in the UAE capital every year. Brazil will host the 6th and final sprint of the season this weekend before finishing the season with the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix on November 18, and the finale is set to take place in Abu Dhabi. Known for its glamorous festivities and star-studded events, thousands of fans visit the Emirati capital every every year to experience the best trackside drama and to witness who will be crowned as champion during the final race of the season. So far, 38-year-old British racing driver Lewis Hamilton holds the record for the most number of wins. Meanwhile, Belgian and Dutch racing driver Max Verstappen has won the last 3 races in Abu Dhabi, including the controversial title clash with Hamilton in 2021. The first Abu Dhabi Grand Prix took place in 2009 and is due to take place at the Yas Marina circuit until 2030. Sa Career min Abu Dhabi kan Hadar El Reyes Akbara SMNI Alimarat Arabia Mutahida.
A magnificent work of art turned heads in Dubai after 6,000 flags were used to create an image of the leaders of the city. Francine Sagarino has a story.
On December 2nd, 1971, 6 of the Emirates, namely Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Dubai, Fujairah, Sharjah, and Al Quwain agreed to enter into a union to form the modern United Arab Emirates, while Ras Al Khaimah eventually joined in January 1972, which completed the 7 sheikdoms. The modern UAE is considered relatively young, however, its rich history can be traced back to thousands of years. The late His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan was the first president of the UAE and is also known as the father of the nation. His renowned patience, vision, wisdom, and the quality of being an unbiased mediator earned him the title of the Wise Man of the Arabs. Meanwhile, the late Sheikh Rashid bin Said Al Maktoum, who served as the former ruler of Dubai, was considered the first visionary of the modern UAE, who helped the so-called City of Gold transform from a simple fishing village to an international metropolis. Every year on November 3rd, people in the Emirates celebrate the UAE Flag Day to remember the efforts of the founding fathers. On Friday, Dubai marked the annual event with a magnificent display of 6,000 flags formed together to create a portrait of the 4 leaders of Dubai, namely the UAE Vice President and Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, together with his 3 sons, the Crown Prince of Dubai Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed, Finance Minister Maktoum bin Mohammed, and Chairman of the Dubai Media Council Ahmed bin Mohammed. On the same day, the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, received a phone call from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, wherein they discussed urgent diplomatic action amid Israel's military escalation in Gaza. Reporting this has been Francine Sagarino, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, a member of the European Union Parliament praised Cyprus for its plan to open a maritime corridor for the fast delivery of aid in a war-torn Gaza. Kesia Boreda reports.
Ilhan Kyuchak, co-chairman of the Pan-European Centers Group of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, expressed his support for building a humanitarian corridor between Cyprus and Gaza.
Kyuchak made a statement during his meeting with Cypriot President Nikos Christodolis on Friday, wherein he described the said proposal as admirable. Under the plan, Cyprus will open a sea corridor to allow the steady flow of humanitarian aid from Cypriot ports to war-torn Gaza. Christodolis said he had already discussed the issue with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after raising it with European leaders last week. The proximity of Cyprus to Gaza and its good diplomatic relations with Arab neighbors and Israel made the island an ideal humanitarian corridor for critical aid.
Cyprus also played an important role by serving as a transit hub for foreign nationals evacuated from Israel since the deadly surprise attack by Hamas on October 7. Reporta sa Putin Limaso, this has been Kesia Borda, SMNI News, Cyprus.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. If you walk by faith, it's just a matter of time that blessings, solutions, peace of mind, and comfort will come to you. And for our Christmas countdown. It's only 51 days to go before Christmas.
And that's all for today's edition of Weekender World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Forgotten Country, I'm Fatima Nozil.
Forgotten Country, I'm Mikey Dennis Oliveira. Thank you for watching Weekender World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, for the great opportunity to be part of this program.
May continue to listen SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.